Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight we have a great panel. We are talking Steve Vai. We're doing our top 5 albums. So tune in. We want to hear from you in the chat. All right, let's do it.
Grant is changing the world one track at a time on Grant's Rock Warehouse.
Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and look at these faces, ladies and gentlemen. We've got Johnny Metal. We've got Tim Durling. And we've got B.M. Boldt. And looky here. We've got Progman 1975, Anthony Ferraro. Tonight, we are talking some Steve Vai. Oh, look at this. Props already.
Nice shirt.
That's a nice shirt. And look.
Yep, there we go.
We're going to talk some Steve Vai.
Oh, wow. Vintage, Byron.
85.
I don't remember ever seeing that cover.
Boot.
I know. I've never seen it.
This is a shameless plug, but we've got a design that says TBC, but it's in the Vai style logo. But
how weird.
That's very cool.
This was designed for a specific purpose, and we'll get to that.
All right, Tim, you would know this. Did they ever release Flexible on 8-track?
No.
No, okay.
No, the only, as far as I know, and I don't know anything about Frank Zappa, so I don't know about those albums. But I know that Eat 'Em and Smile exists on 8-track, and it's one of my grails.
Oh, wow.
As far as Steve Vai on 8-track, I don't think there's much.
You know what, ladies and gentlemen? I haven't even done the intro yet, and it's already went on a tangent. And it wasn't my fault. Not my fault. But anyway, bring it back in, boys. Tonight, we're going to do our top 5 Steve Vai records. Now, we could do solo albums. We could do guitar albums where he played guitar on, but we're going to do our top 5. Really, it's loose. We're just here talking music, and the whole goal is to turn you on to something. Maybe you want to check out these Steve Vai albums, but this panel knows what they're talking about, but we're here just talking Steve Vai. So what we're going to do, now that we're back on track, we're going to go 2, 2, and 1. We're just going to go around, and I'm going to go John Clauser. I'm going to go B.M. Boldt. I guess I'm going to go Anthony and then Tim Durling and then me, and we're just going to keep going. So we'll go 2, 2, and 1. So, John, what's your first 2?
Okay, so my first 2, the first one's going to be a pretty recent release, actually, and I don't know, maybe this may not show up on anybody's list, but been giving this a listen to recently, and I really am liking this album. Vai Gash. Came out like 2 years ago. Stuff that was recorded like 30 years ago, just kind of sat on it, and he wanted to pay tribute to his old friend who was on this album and sang it on it, and it's just a straight up rock and roll album, and this works, for a rock and roll album for Vai. This really worked out really good. I like the guy's voice, Gash's voice. I think he had a great voice. It's just unfortunate that he is no longer with us, but he wanted to pay tribute to his good friend. So it's definitely worth checking out if you want something maybe that's not quite so weird and crazy like some of his stuff can get. Like my number 4, which would be this one, the Alien Love Secrets. He still plays a couple of these songs live quite often. Bad Horsey and Tender Surrender. I just love this. I think this is another fun album to listen to, and I think I even saw him once, and he did Kill the Guy with the Ball live, and that's a great track too. But Yo-Yo Gak, that's a goofy song with his kid just babbling into the microphone, but this is a fun album. This was right before Fire Garden, so that's my first 2.
Who here wants to call John Clauser Father Clauser?
Oh Lord,
no, because
You're the caller. Yeah.
You're the you're a caller. When you hit it just right, John, you look like a priest.
Bless you, my son.
Look.
We get John and Parrish on here at the same time. We're gonna have to pass a plate around.
Tim, if we had them both on there, they would cancel each other out, I bet.
Yeah.
Bless you, my child.
Now, John,
Yeah,
I've seen him twice solo. I've seen him once with Satriani, and then I just saw him recently with Beat. Now, all 3 times that I've seen him solo or with Satriani, he's played Tender Surrender.
Yeah. Yeah, when he 2022, I saw him for the Passion and Warfare 25th anniversary tour, and then the only other two times I've seen him was once with David Lee Roth and um, Whitesnake. So yeah,
You
the
should have
beat.
seen him on that B tour.
I would have
Him
loved
playing
to,
those
but
Fripp parts, he was obsessed. It was unbelievable.
yeah, I wish it came close to my where I live, but
I was
didn't
going to
get that
go, but
lucky.
I didn't make it,
Nope.
unfortunately. Maybe they'll go back out again. You never know. I don't know. All right, cool. Thank you, Father Klauser. Let's throw it over to Byron Boldt. Byron,
Yeah.
what's your first two picks?
All right, I
Or
got a
your
little cold.
last
I got
two?
I got a cold tonight, so excuse me, people. I saw Steve, I think 3 times. Whitesnake. And
Oh,
then
wow.
I saw him late '90s when Mike Keneally was in his band, and Mike Keneally's
Mike
band was opening.
Mike Mangini on drums, Byron.
I believe so, but it was a long time ago. And then I saw him in probably the mid 2000s with when he had Sheehan and McAlpine in the band. That show was incredible. And Dave Wiener was the third. So I had 3 guitarists in the band that night. So that was a great show. My fifth pick, I'm gonna go with the second Alcatraz album. This is
Bastard.
really kind of
That's my pick.
well, I don't know. It's kind of a coming out album for him because, prior to this, his Zappa stuff, which he didn't do a lot on, and then, Flexible, it didn't do a whole lot. It was
Right.
independent release. So this was kind of his major coming out. This is a lot different than the first Alcatraz album. Steve and Yngwie, they're both great players, but they don't play anything alike.
Oh no.
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 But I love God Bless Video, Mercy, Wire and Wood, Skyfire. I was listening to that again the other night, and I was like, oh shit, because he sings "The Sky's on Fire" in Malibu. I was like, oh, that's pretty
Prophetic.
current. So yeah, I like that album. So my next one, I'm gonna go with the first David Lee Roth, the Eat 'Em and Smile album, first full length album.
Mhm.
There's a couple clunkers on here, because Dave kind of does his goofy stuff once in a while. But man, the band in here is top notch. So I kind of feel like Dave just said, "Hey, you guys go in there and just kick ass, and then I'll throw some vocals down after you're done." Except for on things like "That's Life," or that's kind of a Sinatra kind of deal. But yeah, the Yankee Rose is great on here. Shy Boy, the old Tallis song, Tobacco Road, Elephant Gun. Steve just plays great on here. Billy's great. Greg Bissonette, awesome. So it's just a tight band. Couldn't get a better band.
How about the guitar on Going Crazy? That's really good too.
Yeah, that's that kind of that clean, echoey sound that he uses a lot. I like that.
When you
sound.
hear it, you can definitely tell it's Vi.
Yeah.
Oh, you can tell it's Vi all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, just the
No, but-
slinkiness of
That stamp.
yeah, and the slinkiness of Ladies' Night in Buffalo. Ah, that's a man. Yeah, that's a great album.
I mean, it's him when he starts playing. Especially if he gets his harmonizer going. It's like, oh, that's Steve. So anyway,
Love it.
that's it.
All right, cool. Good picks. I'm with you so far, Mr. B on Boldt. All right, Anthony Ferraro, what's your first two picks?
All right, my number 5 is going back to 2012, Story of Light. As a typical Vi record, he's got a ton of guest musicians on it. Like the first track is so good, but I could do without the narration. There's a track on here where he sings "The Moon and I." It actually works. And there's some great instrumentals on there. I forget who the blues singer on here, but she sings "John the Relevator." That's pretty intense. So it's it's your typical Vi album with the heart. You got your hard tunes, you got your melodic tunes, you got your crazy tunes, you got your Zappa influence songs. So this is my number 5, Story of Vi. The first track is so beautiful. I could just do without the narration. And then my number 4, we're going back to 1996, Fire Garden. The opening track, There's a Fire in the House, absolutely phenomenal. Check out, there's a live performance from Live in Japan on YouTube with Keneally and Mangini on drums, absolutely killer. And of course, the Fire Garden Suite, absolutely phenomenal. Another album with a lot of guest stars. Another great track on here is Blowfish and Dying Day. It's such a nice melodic tune. So that's my number 4, Steve Vai, Fire Garden from 1996.
There you go. Thanks, Anthony. Awesome. All right, Mr. Durling, you're up.
So my number 5, I hesitated because technically it's called an EP, but it's pretty full length. Alien Love Secrets, 1995. I think this is a really, really entertaining package. I mean, Bad Horsey is so cool. Of course, that originated on Crossroads movie, the basic structure of that song. But I love the video where he and his band are all silver. It's just really, but it's just a cool song. It's got so much attitude. I love how Steve talks with the guitar. Wow, 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 wow. Like it just sounds like it's so cool. I mean, Yayo Gak is cute. I mean, so he basically, I can't remember if it was Julian or Fire, but whichever one of them was a toddler, they would make these sounds and he would replicate them on guitar, and he made a song about it. And he actually made a kind of a melodic, understandable structure around the song, which only Steve Vai would think of to do. I love Juice. That's a really fast shuffle. That's kind of a Satriani-esque song, I think. That's kind of got, I mean, that makes sense. But I really like that one. I love the end of it. Shut up! We know you can play already. Like, I love that. That's cracks me up every time. Tender Surrender is great. Yeah, there's a lot to like on here. I mean, it's the length of a 70s, early 80s album. So I don't really think it's an EP. My next one is In Violet from 2022. I think this album is magical. I think this album is just fantastic. He's built the Hydra, and I am happy to say I have touched the Hydra.
Oh,
I'll tell you about that in a minute. But I think this is a fantastic album from start to finish. Zeus and Chains, Candle Power, Avalanche, Knapsack. It's amazing. But had the pleasure, because I'm out here in Eastern Canada. We rarely get shows of this sort, but Steve Vai came and played in St. John, New Brunswick in 2023. And so my friend Matt, that helps me with my books and stuff, we designed these shirts, which are still for sale, shameless plug. But it says TVC, but it's done in the Vai style logo. So we wore those, and also had the pleasure of being introduced to Dante Friziello, his rhythm guitar. Well, not his rhythm guitarist, it's his other guitarist. And Dante's got his own band called Flying Formation. And I met him through Ryan from Rush Fans. And so I got in touch, did an interview with him, and met up with him at the show. And he brought us on stage. And so the Hydra was just there, right? And I mean, it was just like, can I touch this thing? Like, and Steve uses every neck on that thing. It's bass. It's got different tunings. But he built it. Then he wrote a composition, the Teeth of the Hydra, around it to use it. I've actually got a copy of the set list from the show. Absolutely flawless performance, and it was just so cool because he just walks out on stage. Steve is just like I mean, he does sing, but as a mostly non-singing frontman, he's got that charisma. You just can't help but follow him. Like, he's the playing is, of course, the playing is amazing, but he commands an audience. It's really cool. And Inviolate, I mean, it was the Inviolate tour, so he played a lot of that album, and I really like that one. So that's my 5 and 4.
excellent picks. All right, my 5 and 4. Well, I'm going to copy off of BM Boldt because my number 5 is Alcatraz, Disturbing the Peace. I like that whole album because I think when Steve Vai gets into Alcatraz, he kind of revamps them. I mean, we haven't really seen Steve play in that type of environment before either. And he just sounds like he's just unleashed. All his playing's good. The production is good. He knows exactly what to play for the song. He doesn't overplay, He just plays just right. And he fits right in with the band. It's just funny because, Steve Vai is just such a complicated player. It just adds a whole nother dimension to the Alcatraz sound, but it works. So I kind of like a lot of these records when when you're a kid, a lot of this stuff you hear and you just totally gravitate into. It took years for Alcatraz to come out on CD, but when it finally came out, I got it. But me. I love that record. So I love exactly what Steve brings to the table, and songwriting's good. I think the band sounds great. It's too bad that it didn't last. But you know what? He went to David Lee Roth band, right? Jumped from there to there. Yeah.
Correct.
But you have to admit, what he brought to David Lee Roth was also great because, well, of course you've got, it's Greg's the drummer, right? Greg Bissonette.
Right.
Yeah. You got Greg, and then you got Billy Sheehan. Come on. Those guys can overplay too. But I didn't mention that. The album, my next record, my number 4, you probably might be surprised, but I think that there's a lot here that there is to offer. I'm going to go with 1999. I'm going to go with the Ultrazone. Now, you get a lot of Steve Vai vocals. You get a lot of instrumentation. I mean, it's like, okay, there you go with the props, though I'm going to put the props up. You get a mix of hard rock, metal, more experimental, melodic. It's all over the place, but it works. Very diverse, very eclectic. I think it's some of Steve's best playing. You get a homage to Frank Zappa. That's cool. I think it's great. I love the instrumentals, but I also love it when, Steve Vai mixes it. And, maybe his vocals are a little much, probably an acquired taste to some degree, but I think he's all right. I think it's okay on this record. So, but that would be my number 4. I do have other albums that rank higher, but my ranking could change like everybody else's probably could on this panel. So highly recommended. Check that out if you haven't. Let's send it over to Johnny Metal.
Okay.
What's your next 2?
Well, my number 3, as the joke would be with some shows that I've done with Tim Durling, we'll have a little repetition going on here. And and Violate's going to be my number 3. I just really when I got this, I just gravitated to it. Not to say that the other albums are they just didn't pull me in quite like this one did. And when you hear Teeth of the Hydra, you think, wow, this is just next level stuff. Then you see him play this live.
Mm-hmm.
Flawless. I mean, it's just like I'm looking at the rest of the band, like Phil Bino on bass. He's just kind of standing there, but then he does add a couple parts, but for the most part, he's just kind of standing up there, just waiting for these certain parts. And same thing with at that time, it was still David Weiner on guitar for my show when I last saw him, but just unbelievable. And then, like Tim said, he played about 5 or 6 songs off this album live, and it just sounded, all those songs just really sounded great live. This was a show that I think there was only one song that you heard any kind of vocalization to, and that was when they did For the Love of God.
Yes, with the Italian lyrics.
The Italian
Yes.
album.
Yeah.
Yes, and that was the only time that there was
That was
vocals.
a surprise. I was like, whoa.
Yes, that
And
was
they brought
amazing.
all the guitarists out to play the harmony. Like 7 guitarists on stage. Did he do that?
No, he didn't get that insane, but it was still a very, that was the only time you heard any vocals. Everything else was all instrumental stuff. So you didn't get a lot of the stuff like from Ultrazone or Fire Garden or any of that kind of stuff. But, or if you did, it was usually the instrumental stuff. But anyway, number 2, low-hanging fruit for anybody who's been into Steve Vai for a long time. But I showed this last week during I have to pick Flexible for my number 2 because this is just I picked that up recently, but this has been my long time copy that I did get Steve to sign. I've had this since I was in high school, and man, I love the silly quirkiness of Little Green Men. Lovers Are Crazy is just I mean, you talk about a weird vocal from Steve Vai. That one's definitely a little over the top. The Boy Girl song is hilarious. Attitude song. I wanted to learn that song. I wanted to learn that song as a guitar player. Call It Sleep, I think, is a great little just kind of slow, bluesy, jazzy kind of song. You get a couple of silly things like the Bill's Private Parts, Next Stop Earth.
There's something dead in here.
There's something dead in here with all these kind of crazy things. But it's still a very, very. It is just such a fun album, and it was just so much fun to listen to as a teenager who was so into heavy metal, but yet, hey, this is a little different, but I like it. It's a shame he doesn't ever play anything from it anymore, but I kind of would like to hear him play one of these things once in a while, but I don't think you'll ever
I'm
get
surprised
that.
he doesn't play the Attitude song at least.
Attitude Song would be like the best song to play from this album.
Yeah.
The
I'd
absolute
do that
best one.
John, don't you think if you listen to the Little Green Man, I picture that tune could have been on Frank Zappa's "Rolling in It for the Money."
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm sure
a lot of these songs are very
lot of-
Zappa-like.
a lot of you could definitely tell there's Zappa influence here on this album. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's funny when I did a Q and I had a Q&A with Steve Vai, and I asked him what was the one thing you took from Frank Zappa, that you learned from and took into your own career, and he would always say that he had said that working with Frank, he was like, he poured every ounce of passion that he could muster into a project, and that's just how he worked. He just dove in with such passion, and he said that that's rubbed off on me, it's and I think it's good. And I asked him, it's like, well, for if you're talking to somebody who's never listened to Frank Zappa, what would you recommend? And he was like, oh, brother, there's too much to pick from. One size fits all was his first pick.
That's usually even though the first Zappa I ever bought was Hot Rats. Now you'll love this story. Grant will appreciate it. I bought Zoota Lores knowing that Eddie Jobson, even though he wasn't on the album, was on the front cover. So that's why I bought it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this, I think my first real thing with Zappa, not to go on a Zappa tangent, was there was like some live concert from You Are What You Is. I remember seeing it on some New York channel. I don't remember if I was on it, but that was like the first time that I actually saw anything about this Frank Zappa guy. And I was like early 80s or something like that.
It was one of the Halloween shows at the Palladium, I think.
Maybe, I don't remember, but it was very interesting. And so I always kept Frank Zappa in the back of my mind, but as somebody that I probably should listen to a little more often. But sorry, didn't mean to go off on a Zappa.
No, it's fine. We're good. We're just talking music. Doesn't matter.
You're allowed to go off on tangents in the warehouse.
In the warehouse, we like tangents. It's one big tangent.
The warehouse has a lot of corridors.
That's true.
One big tangent, and no one gets hurt. So
No.
have at it. All right, thank you, Mr. Klauser.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, Father. Mr. B. on Boldt.
All right. My next pick, nobody has mentioned yet. Good. So this is an album you wouldn't think Steve would play on. I might give it away.
Oh, I know.
He
what
says
you're
this is
talking
one of his favorite projects he ever did. This was recorded in '85 while he was on tour with Alcatraz. He'd take a break and go in the studio and record it. It's the Public Image Limited. Well, this is called compact disc, but vinyl's called album. Cassette's called cassette. This is John Lydon, his band. This is basically all session musicians, though, because he didn't think his real band could pull this album off. So you've got Ginger Baker, Bernie Worrell, Tony Williams, Ryuichi Sakamoto. It's really not a guitar-centric album, but most tracks Steve has taken a solo, and he's doing some things here and there, but it is an excellent album. Some of the best songs on here are FFF, Rise, Home, and Ease. So if you've not heard this, you need to go check it out. Very good album.
Well, just try to find that compact disc.
Is it rare? I'll have to look it up on Discogs.
I've never seen one. I think they're kind of expensive.
You not have it?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
So-
Did that even have a domestic release? I'm not sure if it even
this is
came out
domestic.
here. Is it? What's it on? Show it to me, Byron. Show it to me. Oh, it's on Elektra. I'll be damned. Well, maybe it did.
It says made in USA by WEA.
All right. I've
Oh,
never seen one.
I got one Grant doesn't have.
No, but I'm at a loss.
All right, for my number 2, this one's been mentioned a couple times. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Alien Love Secrets. Um, yeah, it is just an EP. But I mentioned this, I think, last week or two ago when we did the Vai band Sex and Religion review. This is what I wanted Sex and Religion to be, but it wasn't. This is more like Passion and Warfare. Yeah, some of my favorites on here are Bad Horsey, Juice. It's kind of a boogie, like someone would mention Satriani. It's got that kind of Satriani boogie feel to it. Yeah, Yo Gak, I love that. Kill the Guy with the Ball. Yeah, and Tender Surrender is the pinnacle on this album. It's kind of like Touching Tongues was on the prior album, Sex and Religion. Just a great slow ballad. It's got a kind of a Wes Montgomery feel at times. So that's my number 2.
Excellent. Good stuff. Yeah. All right. Let's sort over to Mr. Ferraro.
My number 3, Passion and Warfare. I remember when this was released, I probably wasn't ready for it back then, but I got it recently after seeing them live and hearing a couple songs. Like For the Love of God. That's if you're gonna ask me what's your favorite Vi tune, that's it. Emotional, absolutely gorgeous. Liberty is kind of like his national anthem, kind of like to open the record, then right into Erotic Nightmares. It's to blow your balls off. And I have always thought the audience is listening. If you've ever seen the MTV video on MTV or on YouTube, it's almost like his version of Van Halen's Hot for Teacher. So Passion and War, and then it's just a killer record. So Passion and Warfare is my number 3. My number 2, John already said. Flexible, the Attitude song, Salamanders in the Sun, so Zappa-ish. Little Green Men, as I said, sounds like it would be right off of We're Only in It for the Money from Zappa. Another track that you guys didn't mention, I think is fantastic, is Vive Woman. Fantastic too. I love the guitar on that. And then of course the Attitude song rips. So that's my number 2, Flexible from 1984. Is it 84, John?
Yes.
Okay.
It is.
Yes.
There you go. All right. Thanks.
And this is
Anthony.
the Bernie Grundman reissue. I even got
Really?
that too.
That's a CD, right?
Yeah, CD, and I got the yellow cassette too.
Bernie mastered that.
Yeah,
When did that come out?
22, I think, John. 21, 22.
Something like that.
Yeah,
I've got the original when the first CD came out with bonus tracks. When it was on, what label was that on? Oh, I should have pulled it.
probably an independent label, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was independent.
My CD is from '88, and it's on Akashic Records.
Yeah, and with the important record distribution.
Yeah, and then eventually Sony reissued it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the version I have too.
Yeah, I don't have the Sony reissue. I do remember when that came out, though. Did it have bonus tracks on it?
Had some songs from Flexible Leftovers on my CD,
Yeah.
or that had
That's
come
what
out on
mine's
its
got.
own.
Yeah, I think there's a release on his website called The Leftovers. Also, I think it's a separate release.
Why do I have the feeling that Flexible's just going to keep popping up today? I don't know. Just think about it. Think it is. All right, Mr. Durling, you're up.
So my number 3, this hasn't been mentioned yet, but I happen to really like this album. I know it's not. Oh wow, I've never seen that
Miley's
cover.
got it.
Never seen that cover before.
Yeah, that doesn't look like that. Is that Leftovers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the 10-inch vinyl. Pretty hard to find.
Oh, inside I've got the cassette, and it had an order form for that. I never filled
I
it
probably
out.
got it from
That's
there.
what I've got.
That's
What
the
Johnny
CD
Metal
I
has.
have there. Yeah,
Yeah, mine's the Epic reissue.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's what I've got.
that's weird stuff. Like that's
I love it.
yeah.
So, Steve, you make me so
Yeah.
happy.
Now that was one of the bonus tracks on the Flexible
Flexible.
CD. Which is great. I love it.
Sorry, Tim.
That's
No,
all right.
that's
We're
all
on a
right.
tangent.
That's
It's all good. Go ahead, Tim.
Details
So,
at
I mean-
10 is crazy.
I love it.
So Steve came up on my radar. I think like he did a lot of people my age with Yankee Rose because I was following, whatever was going on in the Van Halen camp on both sides. And I'm like, oh, who's this guy? He's this is a lot of fun. And going crazy. How that wasn't a hit, I have no idea. That's such a catchy song. Like, that is such a catchy song. Missed the top 40 altogether. That's a head scratcher to me because it's catchy. It's anthemic. But anyway, and I have a soft spot for Skyscraper. A lot of people don't like that album. I like
Skyscraper.
I think it's fine.
It's
I like
different.
Skyscraper.
I mean, it's got stuff like Hina on there that's really cool, and I love the title song. And anyway,
Damn good. That was a great ballad.
That should have been a hit too.
How about Hot Dog and a Shake? That's a good tune.
Dave's solo career.
Yeah, see, that's a great record.
Went right off the.
I actually think Skyscraper is better than Eat 'Em and Smile as a whole.
Yeah, more original material, I think, and less covers.
Yeah.
You think there's less shtick on it?
Maybe.
A little bit.
Maybe a little
But
bit.
he makes up for it with 2 Fools a Minute.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I think that's the last track.
Yeah.
Good record.
Anyway, this is a record that I've defended. I believe I've defended on the Contrarians. I was way into this band. I liked Steve Vai, so when I found out the parties were merging, I was here for it. Whitesnake, Slip of the Tongue. This is the first Whitesnake album that I waited for to come out as a fan because I got into them with the '87 album, like so many others. Also, I think this is a good time to mention, shame about the passing of John Sykes. That was unexpected. Didn't see that coming. He was one of the best. Anyway, but yeah, I really like this album. I mean, now the story goes, the Blue Murder album, that's a masterpiece. Yeah. Yeah, so is that. Yeah. Anyway. also going to see Adrian Vandenberg first in the 1st of March playing Whitesnake songs. So that's another thing.
Nice.
You got to see these Whitesnake guitarists while you can, I guess.
Yeah.
But I really like this album. I understand all the criticisms of it, but I think there's good songs on it. I think it's a shame that Adrian didn't get to play on it. I'm a huge fan of Vandenberg's playing, but I think Steve did a good job. Now, I don't know what side to believe the story of why it's all Steve on here, because, the story goes that Adrian hurt his wrists doing some sort of piano exercise. I think more likely the story was that Steve said, if I'm going to join this band, I'm playing all the guitars on this album. Nothing against Adrian, but I'm playing all the guitars. I think that's how it went. And the biggest loss there is that we didn't get a proper Whitesnake version of Burning Heart, but that's another story. But as far as what Steve does near Wings of the Storm, I think is fantastic. Slowpoke Music, I think, is a fun song. The title song is awesome. I mean, Tommy's drums, Tommy Aldridge is, I think this is a better produced album than the 1987 album. It's easier to make everything out, especially the drums. I know that's sacrilegious, but I mean, this is as good a showcase for Steve Vai as any album. And, it was a platinum record. It didn't sell nearly as well as the 87 album. But the best thing, that this album did for me as a 15-year-old, and it's like Anthony said, normally I wouldn't have been buying instrumental rock albums at this age. But because I was so into Whitesnake and so into reading Metal Edge and Rock Scene and all this, I was primed and ready for when this came out. And I would never have normally bought an album like this, but I went and bought it, and I felt smarter for some reason, because before that very reason, you didn't normally, this was not a hair metal album at all. And yet here I am buying it and liking it. I listened to this most of that summer of 1990. This is but there's other versions I could have gotten. This is the 25th anniversary edition where you flip it over. It's Modern Primitive.
Modern Primitive, yep.
But I mean, one of my favorite songs that nobody talks about on this album is Sisters. I think that's a beautiful, really chordal, good example of Steve showing restraint. Erotic Nightmares is a rocker. The Animal is a heavy, heavy one. Blue Powder, really like that one. And yeah, I was thinking the other day when I was listening to this, because I hadn't listened to it in a little while, but yeah, the audience is listening and it's accompanying video. That's Steve's version of Hot for Teacher. It totally is. And I love the fact that he got his actual, I think, grade 7 teacher to come in and do that spiel. Like, that was his actual teacher. He's like, give me your best shtick. Gave her a framework and she just went with it.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to. Fantastic. Melodic song. Really funny video to that song, too. So, yeah, I mean, it was a cause and effect thing, because I was so into Whitesnake and Steve Vai being in Whitesnake. I remember reading about this before it came out, and it became, one of my absolute favorites. So that's my 3 and 2.
What's amazing, Tim, is I think that album went platinum.
It definitely went gold. It might be teetering on platinum, but yeah, it was successful as far as albums go. And because of that, that summer in 1990, that's when I bought Flexible. I found that on cassette, and I never would have bought that normally, but that's another story. I don't have it on my list, but I do like Flexible quite a lot.
Yeah. I think in the States, Passion and Warfare went to 18 on the charts.
Yeah.
The Billboard Top 200, so it did really well.
It had, that was it's probably his biggest selling album. And it made a name for himself. And both of those, Flexible and Passion and Warfare, I still don't have on vinyl. They had them for sale at the merch booth when I saw Steve, but they were signed. They were like $130 each. Yes. And I'd already spent a bunch that day on records and stuff. So I'll have to find cheaper versions of those at some point.
My next pick, Boldt's already held it up, but I'm going to go with the CD version that came out in 1998. Flexible, no, not Thin Lizzy. Flexible Leftovers, because I love that whole there you go. What Mr. Johnny Metal has. Exactly. Father Metal. Steve Vai, Flexible Leftovers came out November 10th, 1998. And so what it was, 1984, he put out an EP with a lot of these extra songs that didn't make it onto Flexible. Eventually, a lot of those came out on CD when the CD was reissued in 88. But we have an expanded edition in 1998. So it has even more from that period.
13 tracks.
13 tracks. So it's more eclectic, weirdness, a lot of great guitar playing. It's funny. If you like Flexible, you'll like Flexible Leftovers because it's just more of the same. And as far as I'm concerned, you gotta have it, kids. So I was glad to see that came out with those extra tracks back then. Because, they could have just released it in its EP form, but at least we've got the whole thing. So I love it. But yeah, that song's So Happy. I just love it. I loved it as a bonus track. I love it on here. A lot of great stuff on here. Burning Down the Mountain. There's great stuff. And I like it. It's great. It's not quite as slick as, Passion and Warfare or anything. Because I think, didn't Steve, I think he engineered that stuff. Doesn't he engineer most of his own stuff?
Pretty much.
I mean, the setup that he had here was a pretty basic setup, but he got better studio equipment. But anyway, check it out. I don't know if it's still in print. It might be.
I think you can get it from his website.
Okay. I don't know if it's out on Epic anymore, but it doesn't matter. If you can get it, get it. My next pick, I'm going to go with Passion and Warfare 1990. This is probably most people's number one record. Not mine, but my ranking could change. Probably the most iconic, most influential album that he did, because there's nothing here that's really, gimmicky, or even the humor, the Frank Zappa humor kind of has left the building. But he kind of expanded his boundaries on guitar. The compositions are great. There's emotion. He's technically excellent. I don't think there's anything weak on this record. If you probably get one Steve Vai album, you probably could just get this and call it a day. It pretty much has everything there. Great record. So that's my number two. Let's do our number ones and go around, and we'll wrap the dog up.
Well, when I saw Whitesnake in 1990 or whatever year, I guess it was 1990. Of course, Vai's in the band. Mm-hmm. So is Vandenberg. So that was pretty cool to see the two on the stage. Vai got his own little solo spot. He got to do little snippets of audiences listening and For the Love of God, and I think one other track. I can't remember which one it was, but my number one's always going to be Passion and Warfare. Saw him back in 2016, and he did the entire album in its entirety, and it was just magical. I think I almost cried to watching him do For the Love of God, because that's just such a beautiful song. And Sisters, of course, sounds really nice. How he even managed to pull Alien Love Secrets, or not Alien Love Secrets, Alien Water Kiss
Oh yeah.
Live, I thought was quite was also quite interesting. Love Secrets and stuff like that. It would come on, great album, start to finish. Um, yes, I would suggest that one if you want to start off with Vi. But I'm just going to add one other album that if you really want to just have maybe a little more of an eclectic mix, that would be this the seventh song. This is like all the seventh songs off of his albums up to what would this be up to? Like mid 2000s or something like that. But I mean, even Christmas Time is his version of Christmas Time is here is on this thing.
Which is the seventh song on Merry Xmas. I love that.
There you go.
That's a
You're
great
okay.
song.
That's
Great
it.
song.
Yeah. You get For the Love of God, you get Touching Tongues, Windows to the Soul, Burning Down the Mountain, Tender Surrender, Hand of Heart, Melissa's Garden, which is a bonus track, Call It Sleep, Christmas Time is Here, and then two other bonus tracks, Wall of Light and Boston Rain Melody. If you want just something eclectic, this is another good compilation that maybe, okay, I like how this song sounds from that album. Maybe I need to go explore it. So that could be something to look forward to. But yes, if you want to start with a full album, Passion and Warfare, absolutely.
There you go. Super. All right, Byron, what's your number one?
All right. I'm going to do a little bit of preface. This is my pick. Back in 1986, this came out. Anybody got that? It's the Blue Powder
Oh
flexi
my!
disc from Guitar Player magazine.
I remember those.
There's Guitar
I
Player.
remember
Yeah.
those.
Yeah, that was Guitar Player magazine. Yeah.
And I kind of knew who Steve was, from Zappa and Flexible, and maybe I'd heard Alcatraz. I don't know if I had or not, but I heard this and I was like, holy shit, this is nothing like Flexible. Loved it. Well, it finally came out 4 years later on
Passion and Warfare.
Passion and Warfare, which is my number one. I actually don't own that anymore. I sold it and I haven't found another copy yet. But yeah, that album, that's his masterpiece in my opinion. Everything he had done before that was getting him ready for this album. And I think it's just, this album just sums up everything about his playing. I love Erotic Nightmares, For the Love of God, Blue Powder, like I mentioned, Greasy Kid stuff. I mean, it's all good. There's no bad stuff on here. So that's what I'm going to go with my number one tonight is Passion and Warfare.
All right, cool. All right, I'm not surprised, Byron.
Yeah, I was buying all that guitar stuff back in the 80s. So this was all in my wheelhouse. So I buy it all.
Yeah, I was getting everything I could. All right, cool. Anthony, you're up. What's your number one?
My number one, to put out an album this late in your career, I mean, I got to go with it and Violate. I mean, Keep the
Fantastic.
Hydra, Zeus and Chains, Little Pretty, those three songs right in a row, absolutely magical. As John said, I saw him on this tour. I saw him twice on this tour, and then I saw him with Vi, and he played about 5 or 6 songs from this album. He opened up with Avalanche each time. Fantastic opener. There's something magical about this record. For the longest time, Flexible was always my favorite. This trumps it. Absolutely magical. And Zeus and Chains is just so killer. And to hear him play that live, oh. So this is my number one in Violate from 2022, I think.
Yes.
Excellent.
Could not have said that better myself.
All right, Tim, what's your number one?
So his best album is probably Passion and Warfare, objectively. But my favorite is Fire Garden.
Oh, okay.
I think this is a tour de force for him. I think it's at least the equal of Passion and Warfare. It's a long album. He even says it was meant to be 2 because half of it's instrumental and half of it is basically his, not really his vocal debut, but let's call it his serious vocal debut because he actually did take the time and take some vocal lessons. But I mean, on the first half of it, There's a Fire in the House is just such a killer.
Oh, what a fantastic opener.
Yeah.
Such a killer opener. Dean Castronovo, I think. Mike Mangini's on some, but I think Dean Castronovo.
Yeah, Di Castronova's on the album, but I guess Mangini
did the tour after
Yeah.
after Extreme broke up. Yeah. Or went on hiatus or whatever.
Yeah, because Mangini was on waiting for the big one.
Waiting for the punchline. He did the
Or
tour,
waiting for the punchline.
Yeah. I mean, Blowfish has got the weirdest. Like, I don't even know how you get that cushiony sound, but the Fire Garden Suite, when I saw him in 2023, he did part of the Fire Gardens. Which one is it called? It's a Terrace Bulba. It's just so cool. And one of my favorite moments is that the very end of the Fire Garden Suite, where he is just playing his face off, and he's doing these like he's just giving all he's got. It's one of the best examples of it, because normally it's very, very measured and on purpose, but he's just playing with so much abandon there. And I think his vocals are perfectly fine. I think it was a wise decision to ease into it with that deep like that, to give you an idea of what his vocal tone would be like. But Little Alligator is a fun song. I really like Aching Hunger, Damn You, Genocide. I just think it's a good album. Then it ends with another instrumental, Warm Regards. Yeah, this is, normally CDs that are really long like this wear out their welcome, but for me, I listen to the whole thing. And maybe because it is kind of two albums in one and you want to hear both parts of it, it's like seeing a movie and seeing a good sequel all at once. But yeah, this is my personal favorite Steve Vai album, Fire Garden.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Tim. All right. Well, you probably already know what my favorite's going to be. It's going to be my favorite one it's always been my favorite. It was my gateway drug. I have to go with Flexible. Is it the best? Probably not, but it's pretty damn fun. I mean, it's like a mini Zappa record. There you go. See that cover? I don't remember that.
There's like
cover.
3 different covers for that, isn't
There's
there?
like
I thought the
there is
original cover was black and it had like the purple drawing on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen
Interesting.
that.
He's got.
Yeah. But recorded in his house, out in his garden shed. Little Green Men, There's Something Dead in Here. Viv Woman, great. Attitude Song, which is a shredding masterpiece. You cannot deny that. I don't think Johnny Metal's yet conquered it yet, but I'm looking forward to see if he's going to work on it this week and see if he can conquer it.
I'll see what I can do.
It's great. It might be recorded like on a 4-track, but you probably would never know.
It's a decent sounding album.
It's a decent sounding record. So go get it.
Recorded on a 1/4-inch 8-track machine.
Okay, 1/4-inch.
That's what it says on the
that's
notes
okay.
in the back.
I read something recently, or it might have been an interview on YouTube or something. They were asking him about the production of that stuff. And Zappa, he got that machine, I think, from Frank. I do believe Frank got him that machine. And he just bought, he said, Frank, is there anything you're not using that you can, I can buy, I can use? And that he was able to get that. That's what the story was. So he just kind of put the studio together. But I think it sounds great. Guitar tones on this are just killer. But
I love what he says here in the special thanks. I would like to thank Frank Zappa way too much for equipment, assistance, and inspiration, but any form of written appreciation would be a feeble attempt to express my gratitude towards his parents, but then everybody else, I'm sure, in the thankful. But yes.
I love on the cover on the version I have anyway, it says definitely stereo.
Yeah.
It is. Anyway,
have you ever seen his interview where he talks about how he and Frank came up with what's new in Baltimore? Where he talks about how Frank showed him this thing, and then Steve. I guess Steve lived close to him, and they came over one day. He's like, "Hey, do you remember this, Frank?" And Frank's like, And he says, and Frank showed him. He says, like, "Oh, I had this Trevor. I had this treasure. I was not gonna forget it." Just like hearing the stuff he and then the time that he auditioned for Frank, and at the end, Frank said, "Well, I hear Linda Ronstadt's looking for
I
a guitar
love
player."
that. Yeah. I hear Linda Ronstadt's looking for a guitar player. Yes.
There you go. Real quick before we wrap it up, anybody having honorable mentions you want to throw out?
I'm going to say Eat 'em and Smile.
Skyscraper.
Yeah, I'm with you. Skyscraper, Eat 'em and Smile. Brian,
I think
I
I
think-
already said this is
Go ahead.
mine. So
I'm going to mention a couple things that nobody's mentioned.
okay.
Well, he put out a big box set. I don't remember the name of it, but there was a certain disc in there. It's called Mystery Tracks Volume 3. And it's all his B-sides and bonus tracks on one disc, which is pretty cool to have if you're a completist, of course. And then there's the Elusive Light and Sound Volume 1, which is all the soundtrack stuff he did over the years, like
Bill and Ted.
Crossroads, PCU. Everybody ever see that? He does like almost that whole thing.
Did
there's
he-
a bunch
Did he independently produce that? I mean, release that himself, or was it on a label? Or I don't know. I've never
know
heard
that
about it.
information offhand.
Oh, okay.
Even that big box with all the discs, there's like a Zappa disc in there. So he was able to get the rights to release all the stuff he did with Zappa on one disc.
The Alcatraz
he
disc was
pulled
in
a
there
lot of
too,
shit
and that
in.
wasn't easy to find at that time.
Well, what year roughly did that come out?
96, 97.
Jesus, really?
Something,
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't know if the Alcatraz thing might have only been out in Japan at that time.
Yeah.
I think that came out like 91 or 90 in Japan. I think.
Grant's going to buy that box now.
I might. I bet it's expensive.
I'm
know-
just on Discogs now. One copy for $260.42. Yep.
No, I'll be all right.
Might be cheaper to buy the component discs now.
Probably.
I think I
I
have some
was
of
at-
those Zappa tracks on this.
Can you get the
so-
individual discs now?
What? Oh, off that box?
I wonder if you could get the individual discs at all.
Hmm.
Maybe not all of them. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a little bit too rich for my blood. I mean, how was it housed? Just like in a.
I'm not sure. I don't know if I've really seen it or not.
You don't know much about it, do you, Byron?
I just know that I've read about it.
It looks
I'm
like
surprised you don't have it.
No.
it's pretty visible on Discogs. It just looks like a box with a clasp on it. You open it up and
Okay.
the discs are housed. Looks like it comes with some guitar picks. It also looks like it got reissued at least once. Oh, he does a version of Celluloid Heroes by the Kinks. Didn't know that.
Well,
That's a good version of that. Real good version of that. I've heard that.
I have never seen it in the wild.
No, me neither.
No.
All right. Well,
We send Grant to Discogs different times. I've done it.
I bought something the other day. What did I buy? Oh, Circus of Power.
Yeah,
Because
I remember
Jamie recommended it, and I thought, wow. Well, I kind of remember it.
that. They're like biker metal, weren't they? Or
Yeah, I guess.
sort of.
Kind of, sorta.
John, are you gonna? I don't know. Did you pre-order? Did you get the new G3 yet? I guess that's supposed to be coming out soon.
I have not. No, I have not yet. I probably will soon, but no, I have not.
Yeah, because we're actually going to get a live document of those songs from Inviolate. Because I thought he'd release a live album, but at least we'll get it through there.
Yeah. That would be a great must-have for any Vi fan. Yeah.
All right. On that note, let's wrap this dog up. I want to thank Johnny Metal, BM Boldt, Anthony Ferraro, Tim Durling.
Thanks for having me, Grant.
And I'm Grant Arthur, ladies and gentlemen.
Grant's in a good mood. Ohio State won yesterday.
Hell yeah. We killed yesterday. Byron, did you watch the whole game? Anthony, did you watch the game yesterday?
I watched some of it.
I watched the first half, and then we went home from the bar, and I checked the score, and then I went to bed. It was still, but Notre Dame had pulled within 8 when I went to bed, and I'm like, we'll see what happens. And
Yeah. I'm very proud of our Buckeyes.
best team you could buy this year.
There you go. Mm-hmm. That's how it is now.
At least it
That's
wasn't
what
an
it is
SEC. It wasn't an SEC team winning for a change.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we'll see you, everybody. Check out some Steve Vai. Let us know what records you like.
But they still lost to Michigan.
So leave a comment down below. Let us know what Steve Vai albums you like. Give us your top 5. And please subscribe. And leave a comment. All right. What's next here in Grants Rock Warehouse? Something. We'll have something coming.
Stay tuned, right?
Stay tuned. There's more to come.
Same bad time, same bad channel.
Yeah. All right, kids. We'll see you. Gentlemen, we will converse later. And keep it clean, everybody. Keep it clean.